Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of City Sim Builds. In the previous episode, we created this really awesome zoo, and we also created this nature reserve, and I'm really happy with how these turned out. We got the zoo up to a level 5, and I think the nature reserve is at a level 3, and it seems like we're getting a lot of utilization out of this, and that is making me happy. I do want to address this little bit of wonkiness here. As you can see, this interchange is not the same. I was trying to record this episode and the game crashed on me, and it was just a whole mess. So I temporarily put this in here, but that's going to be the focus of our today's episode, actually, is this area right here, and potentially, depending on how this goes, seeing if we can do something about relocating our lumber company to maybe up here north of the city where you have a lot more trees. But what I want to do is see if I can slowly add in an industrial area over here and provide some cargo ports and change the roadway structure here. The other thing I want to do over here is add in a little bit more residential in this area and then potentially add in a harbor over here on this side. I feel like these two spots over here are good spots for harbors because here you have the protection from this island and that island, and then over here like a more passenger-oriented harbor is protected as well. So with that, let's jump into today's episode. Alright, so I want to do something about this area. I'm going to go through and remove these sections that are in here, and we're just going to start kind of from scratch over here. So I think backing it up to about there is a good idea. And for the time being, I'm also going to relocate this rail line just so it can give us some room to work with a future interchange right here. So let's create a temporary road situation. So I'm going to bring this up to here, and then we'll just do something very rough. And then I'm going to navigate this over here, and it's going to be kind of weird. But this is going to be fine for the time being, just to allow traffic to come and go and at least get up to this interchange and also this interchange. And then let's do the same thing with our rail. And again, this is not realistic. When you actually build a highway in real life, you would potentially have some rerouting and things like that, but not to not to this extreme, that's for sure. And actually, just to speed things up a little bit, let's maybe make this a 2-lane highway. And hopefully that appeases everyone and can get things kind of flowing through here a little bit better. Okay, and so for planning out the interchange, I'm going to be using the 2-lane gravel road. And for this, I'm going to try and do what's called a collector-distributor interchange. That's like a good systems-to-systems interchange, meaning you have like one highway meeting up with another highway. So looking at our roadway network, I do know I want to tie in somewhere in here. So I'm going to place a road like this. Then I'm going to come over and give us some space like that. And then let's go ahead and just upgrade these to highway segments. And this is a 3-lane cross section, so I'm good with this for right here. Let's reverse these, and then that's looking pretty good. So one of the things we are going to need is a parallel road next to here for ramps. So I'm going to put these in. The goal here is we're going to have some loop ramps where it makes sense. So now what I'm going to do is see if I can get some sort of facility here in place. And I'm going to use this as a temporary guideline. And I feel like when you're building interchanges like this, it's good to go in as small of a section as you can when you're doing your bridges. So that's like the midpoint. So I want to actually come over and do one on this side, and then I'm going to do one on this side as well. And then we're going to remove that, and let's upgrade these to a highway. And so I know I'm going to want to extend this down a little bit, so I'm just going to come down an arbitrary amount. So it's roughly even on each side. And we're also going to change how this ties in as well. So I'm going to back that up over there. And let's make this quick little change. Okay, perfect. So let's zoom down here, and then let's increase the height over here to where it starts to meet up with the existing highway. Then let's get our level terrain tool, and I want to zoom in and get this section right here, and we're going to smooth things out. And then since we have that height already, we can come back over here and do it on this side as well. And once we have those in place, I want to slope through here a little bit. Let's increase the brush size a little bit, right click here, and then we'll drag up this way. I'm just trying to create a nice gentle curve that goes up to the embankment. Then do the same thing on this side. And we're going to come back and terraform this a little bit here as well. Okay, so now I want to get our highway segments back on the ground and in place. So I'm gonna come here and make some sections on the ground like that. Then let's tie up with our highway and the same thing on this side. So I think this section here was roughly $900 and this was $490. So, okay, and then on this side, I'm just gonna come over this way and get the 900 section. And then I'm gonna use one of these here just as a marker, so I can know where to tie into. And then from here, we can do something like that, and then do something similar like that. And then we can connect up nicely like that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So now we need some loop ramps. And the way I like to do this is to create a box here on one of the quadrants, and that will be a good guideline for us to create our loop ramps. And so for here, I'm gonna find this point right here, come down 5 units, come over 5 units, basically just make like a little square. And this is going to give us a good framework to make our loop ramp. So now that we have these in place, what we can do is come in and create a curved road section like this and tie it up like that. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other 4 quadrants. All right, that's looking pretty good. That's one side down. Let's get the other side. All right, excellent. So now that we have these in place, let's get rid of these little guideline crosshairs that we have here. So these will serve as our cloverleaf on and off ramps. And I'm going to go ahead and extend this down to here. So now what we can do is upgrade some of these sections as highway ramps. All right, it looks like we have a little bit of an issue right here. So we'll come back and take a look at this in a second. I think a function of this might be the terrain. So just trying to soften things up a little bit through here so they make a little bit more sense. Yeah, and sometimes these connections are very tricky and don't work out the way you are planning them to work out. So for this, I'm gonna have to roughly eyeball it so I can get it up there. Then down here, I'm gonna do a similar thing, and hopefully this will line up and look semi-symmetrical at least. Something about like that. Yeah, that's not too bad. And then over here, we can provide a new connection that meets up with the bridge. And to help with that, I'm gonna use the curve road tool, and we're gonna come out here. And we're gonna find this guideline and then tie up like that. And then we'll just mimic the same thing on this side. All right, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so now I'm gonna upgrade this section through here. And then let's extend this down. And now we can start working on our bypass ramps. All right, so we're gonna do a similar thing here for our bypass ramps. We're gonna come out to where this guideline is and meet up something parallel like that. So let's get these in for all of these different ramps here. And then here, what we're gonna do is come out, I think it's roughly 3 units, and then tie in like that. I think that's pretty good. It's close to symmetrical. There probably are a little bit of issues there, but I think that'll be fine. And then to make sure that we're tying up okay down here, I'm gonna try and use a couple little guide points. And so we'll come out 210, then we'll use our curve road tool, find that guideline, and then tie in like that. And as you can see, this is a really large interchange. And the reason I'm doing that is because I know we're gonna have this highway extend over here in the future. So I wanna get this infrastructure in place first. So now we'll need to extend this down to about here. We're gonna come back and make sure all these movements make sense and get rid of these little junction issues. Oh, and I forgot to get a connection in over here. So let's get those in place. So we'll come out roughly 210, or we can do 240. I think this one's a little bit different. Okay, so we have connections, I believe, everywhere that we need them. So now what I'm going to do is go and make sure that we have all the directions the right way. Now that we have all the directions in place, I want to connect up the highways again. So it's not giving me the guideline I want, so I'm going to eyeball that one. And kind of the same thing here. That looks pretty close to parallel, and I'm good with that. Okay, perfect. I think that is looking pretty good. So now we can get rid of this bypass road, and traffic is starting to flow how it should be. And I'm not going to make these connections here just yet, but one thing I do want to do is reestablish this rail connection through here. And I think that's going to require me getting rid of a couple of segments in here. So what I'm going to do is bring this down through here and get a height that makes sense and is just wide enough for our rail line. All right, so let's check the rail through here. If we build something, that looks good. And it looks like we don't have enough height here, so I'm going to drop this down a little bit. All right, so I want to check the heights through here just to make sure it works. And we have a little bit of wonkiness here, so I'm gonna have to extend this out a little bit. All right, and I think that is looking pretty good. So now that we have rail on both sides, I want to slope through here and get this connected back up in a much more reasonable fashion. All right, excellent. I think that turned out pretty well. And that is definitely a massive interchange. Okay, so I'm going to smooth out the slopes through here just a little bit. And that's not what I meant to do. So I keep hitting a different tool there. It's like the level terrain tool, but so my mistake. All right, and I think that is working out just fine. Okay, so I kind of want to do a similar thing over here. And what we're going to do is extend the river road over here and see if we can get in a small interchange right here. So I'm going to back this up a little bit and get rid of some of this fencing just for the time being. And then let's zoom down here and take a look. So I'm going to grab a elevation that's roughly about here, and we're going to flatten the terrain through here like this. The next one I'm going to do is grab this elevation and slope up to there. Okay, perfect. And then a similar thing for about here. All right, so again, I'm going to be using some dirt roads through here, and I want to get something that is roughly parallel. Then I'm going to create just like a little connection like that. And that was, I think that was roughly 3 units. We're going to mirror the same thing on this side. And then from here, we'll come down to 5 units, come over 5, come over 5 again, and circle down like that. Then let's repeat the same thing on this side. And actually, I'm going to reorient this road. Let's have this come through to roughly right there. Then from here, we can tie up with this guideline, then have this meet in like that. Then now I'm going to come out to the river's edge and then curve around like this. And then here we're going to do a similar thing, come out 5 units, and then curve over 5. Then let's find this spot over here. Then we'll come out 5. And I think this might be a little off. So we'll come over here and we'll just create like a little box like that. Then we'll use that as a guideline, get rid of these. All right, and I just kind of made a bunch of different changes on the fly there, but that's okay. And then so for here, let's go out 5 units, and come down 5. Then we'll meet up like that. Then here, just kind of mirroring what we did there. All right, so now that we have the makings of an interchange, let's get the ramps in place. And I'm not super pleased with how this turned out. I'm gonna see if I can fix this. All right, and that I think will be good enough for now. We can pretty this up with some landscaping, and some asymmetry is a-okay. Then here, let's upgrade the river road. All right, perfect. I think that is looking pretty good. We have functional ramps and everything is shaping up nicely. All right, so now I want to focus in on adding in some more industrial over here. So let's go into our terrain, cut that on, and then let's see if we can have something that follows the terrain. And then here, we are going to have to make a pretty tight turn. So I'm going to put some guidelines there. And then let's see if we can have, we'll meet these up roughly like that. And then do something about like that. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's fine. And then so for over here, I'm going to use some of these small industrial roads. So I'm going to bring this out at a 90-degree angle and come close to the highway. Then through here, we're just going to create a little grid system for our new industrial park. Then over here, I'm going to come off a little bit just to allow some space between the highway and this industrial road. We'll get something like that in place. And let's come off maybe like 5 units, do a curve like that. Then over here, I think we can come out maybe like 10. Let's go 10. Then let's line up with that guideline and then meet up like that. This is pretty close, but yeah, let's change this a little bit. That way, if we need to widen the ramp in the future, we can. Okay, so what I'm going to do is come out to roughly here and then make sure we have a curve that gives us a little bit more space, and then we'll connect these up right here. All right, that's looking good. And then through here, I think we can have a road that connects up and meets up like that. And actually, we don't need that big of a block size, so let's get rid of that road. I think that is looking pretty good. I'm gonna zone through here and run power and water and be back in a moment. All right, and so for power, I think I'm just gonna extend a line for the time being that goes across the highway and connects up over here with the zoo. So one of the things I do know we're gonna need is a fire station. So let's place a fire station kind of centrally located here, and hopefully this will help the power jump. All right, and I'm gonna do something kind of drastic. Hopefully it doesn't mess things up too badly, but I'm gonna dezone all of this industrial. And hopefully we'll get some infill over here. And I'm gonna let the game run and see what happens here for a second. All right, so it looks like power is not jumping, so I'm gonna just temporarily add that in, and hopefully that will help fix things out. And it looks like that did the trick. Maybe what I'll do is just have a simple line of industrial right there and see if that fills in. And then once that does, I can get rid of this over the road connection there. And then what I'm gonna do, and this is not realistic, but I'm gonna relocate some of this power and water over here. And I think what I'm going to do instead is create a little public works campus. And I don't even think we need these anymore. Let's see what it does to our power. Yeah, so we're kind of teetering on the edge. So I'm going to relocate this over here, and I'm going to build another one. So if we go over and we find our solar updraft tower, we can place that adjacent to that. And I think that should help out all of our power needs. So what I'm going to do is take the incineration plants, the eco inland water treatment plants and everything, and bring them over to the other side of the river. I think for the biofuel bus depot, we're going to move that to there. All right, so before we continue, I need to connect up all of these that I just broke. And that took care of our sewage problem. Excellent. All right, and for the time being, I'm going to leave the water pumps right here, but we might move them over here in the future. So let's move this actually there. That way we can have our tram depot and our biofuel bus depot in the same spot. Then now that we have this area, we can start rezoning it. So I think since we have such a high commercial demand, I'm going to place a block of commercial or two right here, and that'll act as a buffer. And then through here, I think we can place some residential. And then before I forget, I'm going to place maybe one more medical clinic, maybe an elementary school, and one more high school. All right, so we're having some traffic issues here, and I think it's partly because of the gravel road situation here. Let's go in and take a look at that. All right, so I do want to go into our traffic routes and take a look here at the junctions. Let's make this a stop sign, and that a stop sign, and this is completely the wrong way. Let's fix that. All right, so we have ons, offs, ons, and offs. Then I think eventually in the future, we'll probably need another interchange down here. But for the time being, I think this will serve us well, even though there is a lot of traffic here. And maybe since there's so much traffic, maybe I'll make this a stoplight and this a stoplight. We'll see how bad things get here. But this is starting to fill in quite nicely, and I'm pleased with that. All right, and I think that's going to do it for this part of this episode. So this is going to be part 1, where we created this section over here and did some infill development. The next part, we're going to be focusing in on transplanting our forestry industry to up here somewhere, and then doing some more infill development in the heart of Canarsie. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please think about doing so. That would be really, really awesome and would really help me out. Also, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. But I'm looking forward to seeing you all back here in Canarsie, our tutorial series. But until then, hope you all are doing well, and we'll see you in the next one. All right,